What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to VeVe Investments. On today's episode, we're bringing it back to Alibaba Cloud, and we're talking about 14 ways that a potential partnership can impact VeVe. So if you're interested in finding out what those 14 ways are, make sure to stay tuned. We discuss them all in this episode. Now, if you guys ended up missing part 1, I will link it down below. Make sure to watch that before watching this video because we do describe what happened between the two companies, and that was them signing an MOU. Now, to clarify, an MOU is not a partnership between the two companies. It's the two companies saying they want to work together, but there's no legally binding agreement between them. So in today's episode, we're talking about 14 ways that Alibaba Cloud can impact VeVe if they were to sign a legally binding agreement. So with that being said, let's waste no time at all and let's hop into point number 1. All right, so the first thing is going to be scalability and global reach. So we talked about this a little bit in part 1. But Alibaba Cloud does have a vast infrastructure of global network and data centers. This would enable VeVe to scale its operations rapidly and efficiently into multiple different regions. So they'd benefit from things like increased server capacity, improved load management, enhanced network performance, and all of this stuff would ensure a seamless experience for users even during peak times. So we mentioned in our last episode about how back in the day the app would crash from time to time, and that was the result of an increase in activity on the app. When VeVe expands into additional regions, the same exact thing can happen. So VeVe needs to ensure that they have the infrastructure in place to make sure that the systems they've put in place don't break. So their data centers are one way that they could facilitate VeVe's expansion into new markets, but VeVe could also tap into the group's customer base and network. Next is going to be security and reliability. This one's pretty obvious, and that's because Alibaba does have a strong reputation for their security and their reliability. So because of this, VeVe could enhance the protection of their digital collectibles ecosystem. We know that up until this point, one of the main focuses for the team has been security. You hear about the rug pulls, you hear about the scams in the space. It's not uncommon. So by enhancing the security, it would help build trust among collectors and investors like myself, who would then have more confidence in the platform's ability to safeguard our digital assets. Now, we're talking about making sure that we avoid issues before they arise, right? What happens when something comes up that you don't expect? And that happens in business all the time. A partnership with Alibaba would also provide VeVe with access to disaster recovery solutions, but it would help ensure continuity in the event of unexpected incidences. So if something happens on the back end, let's say with their cloud servers, or maybe there's a security breach, Alibaba can help VeVe with this type of stuff. Next up, a partnership could enable VeVe to leverage Alibaba's high performance computing capabilities, which would enable faster transactions and reduce latency when it comes to trading. We're going to talk about the user experience a lot in this episode, but the improved performance would create a more seamless and responsive trading experience, which would improve the overall user experience and not only help bring more people on the app, but help retain the ones that are already on it. One really annoying thing that I'm finding on the app right now, and it's actually been around for a long time at this point, is you can be on the app for 10, 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden you click on a listing or you click on an item or whatever you click on the app, and the app won't load. Then you have to close the app, you have to restart it, then you have to go back to what you were trying to look at, and so on and so forth. Fixing something as small as that would help improve the user experience tremendously. So the main part of the Alibaba group is going to be their e-commerce ecosystem, but they don't just own sites like Alibaba.com, they also own sites like AliExpress. So sites like this could open up opportunities for VeVe to integrate their digital collectibles into Alibaba's e-commerce platforms. I actually believe David has been asked about this in the past, about whether he wants our collectibles on platforms like Amazon and eBay and things like that. And I believe his exact words were eventually. So an integration like this would allow VeVe users to showcase their digital collectibles on popular e-commerce platforms, which would increase exposure and potential sales for the platform. Now, the Alibaba group has an extensive experience in marketing and promotions. So VeVe could also benefit from their marketing expertise to reach a broader audience and increase brand awareness. So collaborative marketing campaigns and cross promotions between VeVe and Alibaba's platforms could generate significant buzz around digital collectibles, and it would also drive user engagement and expand VeVe's user base. Alibaba's global network could facilitate VeVe's collaborations with other international brands, licenses, or IP holders. For anyone who was on the app back when Disney was announced, David had mentioned at some point, like the week following that announcement, that his phone would not stop ringing on his desk, and that was from other companies calling to talk about VeVe. If VeVe and Alibaba announce a partnership tomorrow, meaning they've signed a legally binding agreement, the same exact thing would happen, but for companies over in Asia. So VeVe could leverage Alibaba's network to secure licensing deals for digital collectibles based on popular franchises, characters, and sports teams. And I say sports teams because Alibaba does have a network with them. And of course, a very similar result to our previous points. It would add value to VeVe's offerings, and again, it would attract collectors to the platform and provide for a better overall experience. Now, in terms of blockchain infrastructure, this one's kind of obvious as well, because in part one, Alibaba does provide blockchain services, but a partnership could lead to the development of more efficient algorithms, increased scalability, and improved transaction throughput. So these advancements would result in not only faster transactions for users, but also more cost-effective transactions for both users and the platform. Again, further enhancing the user experience. VeVe could also integrate their actual marketplace with Alibaba. So just to clarify, for point number 4, when I was talking about their e-commerce ecosystem, I was thinking about that from the perspective of almost like an Amazon reseller. So on Amazon, you can be a reseller and just sell random products on Amazon. The same way that interoperability can be introduced to our digital collectibles down the line, and some digital collectibles can be moved over to sell on Alibaba. For this point, I'm talking about specifically integrating VeVe's actual marketplace with these platforms. Almost like a plugin, right? And then that would allow people to buy and trade collectibles. The advantage to that would be, again, just going back to point 4, if somebody was to go and resell their collectible over on Alibaba, 1, the person who's reselling already has to have the collectible, or AKA has to know about VeVe, and 2, the person going to buy it on Alibaba would likely have to know about the platform as well. If you integrate the entire marketplace, you may know nothing about VeVe collectibles, and you may be on Alibaba's site and then randomly come across VeVe. But something like this, and I hope I'm explaining it properly, but it could open up access to millions of potential buyers. Now, Alibaba's network does extend to entertainment, sports, and other industries. We know VeVe is looking to get into music and sports. So VeVe could collaborate with renowned artists, athletes, and celebrities to release limited edition collectibles, but these artists, athletes, and celebrities would of course be from Alibaba's network. A synergy like this would generate buzz, depending on who you're working with, right? If you work with, I mean, we've talked about Shaq in the past, because we've seen him messing around with characters in AR. But if you work with a big name to promote VeVe, it could generate a lot of buzz, attract new users, and you can also create unique collectible opportunities. So I'll give you an example. Artifact working with LeBron James. So Artifact is the company that creates those Nike shoes, but they actually created a physical pair that LeBron James was seen wearing. It generated a lot of headlines. Number 10 is going to be enhanced social features, and this is a big one for me. So Alibaba's expertise in social networking community building could contribute to the development of interactive features within the VeVe platform. So in a very similar way to the recent update with notifications on the app, some people may look at that and go, well, that's a small feature. But I would argue that it's very, very big. And the reason why is because it helps with retention on the platform. So beforehand, when you saw that V pop up on your phone, 10 out of 10 times it was a listing selling in the market. That V pops up on your phone now, you don't know if it's a listing selling, you don't know if it's a drop notification, you don't know if it's a notification telling you to complete a certain set. So it can be for a number of different things, and there's a number of different ways they can still use it. But notification features like that help with retention for users that are already on the platform, the same way that integrating social media functionalities, live events, interactive forums, stuff like this that would help increase retention on the app. If you provide a better user experience on the social feed, you're going to create more engagement, You're going to create more discussion. People are going to be sharing more things more often. And most importantly, out of everything that I just said there, the experience will be more fun. So I don't even think that the team needs to commit to completely fixing the social feed. I just think that they need to introduce some functionalities right now that provides for a better experience for people who actually use it. And if the team can do that, it'll strengthen loyalty with users who are already on the app even more. Now, Alibaba's innovation in gaming and VR technologies could be leveraged to enhance VeVe's user engagement. So this could result in gamified elements within the VeVe app, things like interactive challenges, achievements, leaderboards. So when I think of leaderboards, I think of the Showroom Showdown that we originally introduced on the channel, which, by the way, I do have the intention of bringing that back, but we were going to have a seasonal leaderboard that would show the winners for each season. Next up, let's talk about research collaboration. So Alibaba Cloud's research and development initiatives could benefit VeVe by facilitating knowledge sharing and research collaboration in emerging technologies. What's really interesting about a point like this is think about remote work nowadays, right? Remote work has benefited small businesses tremendously because, back in the day before remote work, the pool of applicants for a small business was generally just people within their area, right? Now that same business can cast a super wide net and hire somebody from a completely different country who can operate in the same time zone. So what I'm trying to get at here is a small business can access more talent the same way that a company like VeVe can access more information by working with a large company like Alibaba. So through joint research projects and knowledge exchanges, both companies can stay at the forefront of blockchain, cloud computing, and related technologies. Think of it as kind of like a little alliance. We see you as a potential disruptor in this space, and instead of fighting our forces, let's join our forces together. So a collaboration like this would enable VeVe to continuously innovate and offer cutting-edge features and experiences to users. Now, when it comes to legal framework, Alibaba Cloud's experience in navigating regulatory landscapes could also assist VeVe in addressing compliance challenges related to digital collectibles and blockchain technology. So we know that there's been multiple changes with VeVe in the past having to do with regulations. A great example are buybacks with the OMI token. It was apparently their legal team that advised them that buybacks would not be in their best interest, and so that's the reason why we don't have those. A partnership between the two companies would enable VeVe to ensure adherence to evolving regulations and establish a robust legal framework. And one thing I'll add to all this is regulations in places like China, for example, are on a whole other level. We're talking about Alibaba, and the CEO of Alibaba disappeared for like several years. He only just resurfaced. And there was a lot of conspiracies around the government and how he didn't adhere to certain regulations or he broke the rules in some way. And yeah, so VeVe wants to make sure they're in line with all that stuff. And obviously, the more that they are, the more trust and confidence they can foster among users, collectors, and regulatory authorities. And last but not least, a partnership with Alibaba and VeVe could help VeVe with their Metaverse expansion. So the two companies could explore opportunities to integrate VeVe's digital collectibles into Alibaba's Metaverse projects, or vice versa, because we know we're going to be able to take collectibles from platforms like OpenSea, for example, and bring them into the VeVeverse. And this would enable users to display and interact with their digital assets in immersive virtual environments, but in a similar way to integrating VeVe's marketplace over onto Alibaba and somebody finding out about VeVe through Alibaba. This could happen in a very similar way, where somebody could be inside of one of Alibaba's Metaverse projects, have no knowledge of VeVe whatsoever, but see a VeVe collectible that brings them to the VeVe platform. Another cross-promotional opportunity. Ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Those are 14 ways that a potential partnership between VeVe and Alibaba can impact the VeVe platform. Now, there does seem to be more news coming out with Cavernous. They do seem to be dropping some big news within the next week or so, so I am interested and excited to be able to recap that for you guys. And just a little reminder as well, I am going to be recapping one of their most recent release articles next week. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for next, I'll catch you then.